This week we read Parshas Vayishlach. In the previous Parsha, read about how Hashem comes to Lavan, comes to Yaakov when he was in the home of Lavan. After being there 20 years, he worked 14 years for his two wives, 6 years to create this enormous wealth which he had. And now Hashem appears to him and says, it's time to go back. But it's something very interesting. Before Hashem tells him it's time to go back, he hears murmurings that his wife's brothers, they're saying, all this wealth that Jacob has, he taken it from our father. It's our father's wealth. Then he notices Lavan, that he has a certain look in his eye, which he never had before, which also indicates that he's a little not happy with Yaakov's level of success. Similarly to his brothers-in-law, that they feel that Yaakov actually duped him, embezzled. Whatever he has belongs to them. And Yaakov has no right to what he has. He has the sense. And then Hashem comes to Yaakov and says to him, it's time to go back, to fulfill your vow, to bring that offering on that matzeva, on that monument that you had anointed. He tells his wives, he asks his wives to go out into the field, and he shares with his wife exactly what he noticed, how their brothers are murmuring about what he has is not rightfully his, and the father, also the look in his eye is not the same. And Hashem appeared to me that we should go back. So they respond on the first, second. They said, whatever you have is rightfully yours and ours. You worked for it. We were treated like captives. He didn't give us what we had a right. Father normally gives a dowry for his daughter. He gave us nothing. And if Hashem said to go back, of course you should go back. So the obvious question is, if Hashem said to go back, that's all he should say to his wives. His wives were matriarchs. They weren't ordinary women. He doesn't have to give them reasons why they have to go back. Hashem says, we're here long enough. I'm here 20 years. We have our family. It's time to go back. That's all he should have said. Why do you have to give this background scenario that he overheard the conversation, his murmurings from their brothers, that all the wealth that Yaakov has is their father's, and Yaakov had shystered them. And then finally, he says, it's because Hashem said. He says, right, immediately, Hashem said we should go back. So before you see anything, the way Yaakov's interacting with his wives is no different how the scenario unfolds, what he notices, and then Hashem says, go back. If Hashem wanted to go back immediately, why do we need this precursor that he heard the murmurings of his brothers-in-law, and then he noticed his father-in-law's, he couldn't look him in the eye, or he had a different facial appearance than previously, which means he wasn't happy. And then finally, after he realized the reality that the relationship is strained to the nth degree, only then did Hashem say, go back. That's what Yaakov noticed. What was the order of events? First he saw for himself, and then he receives the divine dictate, go back. So the same sequential format he presents to his wives. As Hashem presented to him, he says to his wives, firstly, I heard your brothers, the murmurings, your father's look in his eyes not the same. Hashem said to go back. That is the order. So Yaakov, what he's communicating with his wives, is no different than what Hashem allowed to unfold regarding his own personal situation. So there's a separate question, why? Because evidently, it wasn't enough. Lavan was a semblance of what Esav was. And even for Yaakov, as great as he was, evidently from Hashem only God knows, that Yaakov had to see for himself and hear for himself the reality of who Lavan is, although he says when he confronted him, it says he cheated him, he tricked him 100 times, he changed the deal, although the deal was a completed deal, concluded deal, but he has to understand that what he has, if God doesn't protect him and he leaves, it's gone. It's gone. As much as the man ingratiates himself with Yaakov and convinces him, and his sons are the same, nevertheless, you have to understand firsthand, he overheard it himself. He saw his father-in-law's facial expression is not the same. Now, understanding reality, now it's easy to leave now. Now the divine dictate comes, it's time to leave. That is the scenario. But there's a question. Yaakov, when he was told to leave, he didn't prepare, he didn't pray to be protected from Lavan. He didn't prepare a gift to somehow ingratiate himself with Lavan, and he didn't prepare for war. Hashem says, leave. He left in the middle of the night and fled. That was it. No preparation whatsoever. Wasn't concerned that Lavan is going to pursue him. And yet now, when it comes to Esav, he sends Malochim, whether they're spiritual angels, whether they're agents, to see exactly, it's more than 34 years have passed. He hasn't seen his brother. He wants to get an evaluation of the situation. Is his brother still harboring that hate and he wants to kill him? Or maybe somehow dissipated. And when he realizes his brother's coming to do battle with him with 400 men, he supplicates Hashem for protection, prepares this very valuable gift, and he prepares for war. But Hashem said, go back. As Hashem said, go back, and he wasn't concerned for Lavan pursuing him. And whatever happens, happens. And that's his faith in Hashem. Hashem says, go back. What does he have to be concerned about Esav? There's no reason to be concerned about Esav. Esav can't in any way interfere because Hashem said, go back. So how do we differentiate between not being concerned about Lavan and being concerned about Esav? That's the question. Now, well, the answer is very simple and obvious. Hashem says, go back with Lavan. There's no question. He has nothing to worry about Lavan. When Yaakov took the birthright and the blessings that accompanied the birthright, what did Hashem say to Yaakov? What did Yitzchak say when he gave the blessing to Esav? When you'll have a reason to be upset and be pained that the birthright is not yours, and when is that? When the Jews do not keep the Torah, when they do not adhere to the dictates, you'll be able to throw off their yoke and you will have the upper hand. That's what Yitzchak said. The blessing and all the protection was based upon what? That Yaakov is where he should be. If Yaakov is not where he should be, no guarantees. All guarantees are off. And that's what it says. What was he concerned? Maybe I became soiled with sin. And once I became soiled with sin, I'm no longer worthy of all the guarantees, all the protection. It's rightfully mine. And as a result of that, Esav has the upper hand. Therefore, with Esav, and this is the concept as we discussed, Esav's son Yaakov. Who is the antagonist? Who is the counterbalance to Yaakov? That's Esav. But he's only has the upper hand if there's some degree of spiritual failing on Yaakov's part. Lavan, whatever he represented, he was not the antagonist. He was not the counterbalance of Yaakov. Therefore, Hashem says, go, he goes. When Hashem says go, and now you have to confront Esav, now the question is, where do you stand? Do you stand in a position you have the upper hand, or maybe somehow, to whatever degree you failed, that no longer gives you that right to be where you are, and therefore he has the right to crush you and destroy you. And that's why Yaakov right now is sending agents, whether malachim means malachim mamash, literally spiritual angels, or physical human beings, to make this evaluation. Is he still harboring that hate, or it's something in the past and he has nothing to worry about? And they come back with that news. He's coming with 400 men ready to do the battle with you. As a result of that, he prepares in the three areas: supplication, gift, and he prepares for war for that reason. That's the difference between leaving Lavan and not being concerned about Lavan and confronting Esav, where he's his antagonist and he's his opponent, to destroy him if he's not at that level where he should be. And that's because maybe I've become soiled with sin, and therefore he has a right to throw off the yoke, and therefore he has the upper hand. 1 second.